Hi, everyone. Oh my gosh, it's Monday, and I'm actually here on time. Like, oh, what's going on? What? So, the world is pretty good. Um, Other than the entire, coronavirus thing, life has been not too bad, and that's a good thing. I have had the first few sales of the second Taylor Mage novel, which makes me very excited. Thank you to those of you who purchased from Amazon. You're very appreciated. um, Thank you to the people who helped me put the book together because you can't do this stuff alone. You just can't. There's so much work to do, and it requires a team. And most of that team is family, but um, my friends and stuff who supported me through the writing and whatnot, they deserve kudos as well. Um, and the cookbook hopefully will get done this week. Still going to get it out maybe by the end of August, definitely by the end of September. All is going well according to that. And on top of everything else, the very last real concern that I had for the coming school year has been taken care of. And while I'm not at liberty to say what that is, I'm just really relieved right now. Um, Everything is going so much better than I was worried it would. um, but as you can see behind me, I'm kind of out in the forest. Well, not really the forest, but this is my side yard. We don't have a backyard. We have a huge side yard instead. And this is actually where we're going to hold our kind of mini Harper's retreat. So every year on Labor Day weekend, we go and we do this huge event at the Dakota YMCA camp in Richmond, New Hampshire. And of course, this year that's not happening because Corona. The world sucks in that respect. However, I'm glad everybody is being safe. And even though I am really missing my folks, I'm glad everyone is being safe and taking care. So that's a good thing. So, since we can't have the big event, which as I said is a reasonable thing, we're going to be my boyfriend and I are actually going to be here in the side yard in a friend's pavilion tent. The kids will probably be in my tent, which is, let's see if I can get a view of it there. It's all covered with leaves and stuff at the moment. And we might have a couple of other people who are coming and staying in their own tents, or they might just come for the afternoon. We have a handful of people who will be stopping by. It's going to be masked and social distanced because that's what you do right now. And we're taking care to make sure that everybody we love is taken care of and not breathed on and that kind of thing. But I'm really excited to see people that I haven't seen basically since January. Most of these people I haven't seen since January. Wow. So yeah, they're going to come here. I guess one of my kids is setting up a um axe. She throws axes, and so she's setting up an axe station over at the side here where it's safe because we don't have a backyard, but behind us there's like, I don't know, 16 acres of nothing, trees. There's no one back there. There's no houses. So it's a safe place to go and do the thing. So they're going to be facing that way. And no archery because we have done archery in the yard with more than with more than two people here. I'm not comfortable doing that, so we're not going to do that. But there will be a fire in the fire pit, which is not going to be back here, but out front where it's not under the trees. And we won't have singing, but we may have some harp music and some recorded music, and there will be talking across the fire, and we can get our clothes to smell smoky so that we have something to sniff over the winter. And it's something. And during all this, I'll be cooking out here. and and this was all going to be in Garb. So if you are in my neighborhood and you happen to know where I live, you can wander by and see me in my finery. I don't know what I'm going to be wearing yet. It depends on the temperature. It looks like it's going to be in the 70s, in which case I'll be wearing my lovely silk because it's nice, it's breathable, but not too warm. But it'll be warm come evening. If it's really hot, I might switch to just a simple linen dress, but we'll see what happens. In any case, I'll be out here cooking and having a blast and probably doing some pre-recorded video, which will get turned into sort of a promo for the cookbook. I'll be making my now famous chickpea crack, which is a vegan dish which pretty much anyone can eat. The only people who really can't eat it are those who have problems with alliums. That's onions and garlic, because I use a ton of it in there. But you could make it without those things. And it's very flexible. So it's a fun dish, and I'll be making that. And I'll probably be making a chicken stew because chicken is cheap, and I'm feeding, whoever shows up throughout the day. So, yeah, I think it's going to be good. It'll be a chance to sit outside and enjoy the sun. I am going to use my modern pop-up because I don't want to be sunburnt and crispy, because I don't like being crispy. But other than that, it's going to be a chance to be outdoors and cooking out here and having fun and spending time with people that I love, doing stuff that I love, which is a good thing. Following weekend, I'm actually going modern camping. Who'da thunk? We actually found a place, and we'll be going away. And there will be no videos of that because it's just me and my boyfriend, and I'm going to be enjoying myself and eating a lot of really yummy food and probably popcorn over the fire and s'mores and other things like that. Nothing the least bit medieval. With luck, we'll get a chance to go swimming and that as well. So there's a whole lot of crossover between my interests. I have interests in recreating history, and so that gives me an interest in sorry, I have things crawling on me. Welcome to the great outdoors. When you're talking about history and stuff, you cross over in a lot of ways. There's medieval history, which is a blast, but there's also more recent stuff. I watch Townsend, who is a gentleman who runs a sutler store, which is the stores that provide goods and clothing and tents and stuff to people doing 18th century or 17th century reenactment, 1800s. And I watch him. He does a lot of cooking videos, and a lot of his stuff has actually inspired me to do my own cookbook, but it also helped me find the history of some of what I was doing, because having found it in recipes that were dated to the late 1700s and early 1800s, it was easier for me to follow those recipes back in time. And so I didn't have to do some of the work, which was really nice. And his recipes are phenomenal. I highly recommend you check him out. He's also on YouTube. Look up Townsend and Son, TOWNSE, Townsend, SEND, and Company, or and Son, I think. I can't remember which. But he does cooking and historical videos, and he does on-site stuff when we're not all suffering from COVID. So it's well worth the watch. You will learn a ridiculous amount about history from him and about the foods that were eaten by our ancestors here in America, which is kind of a cool thing. And that leads me to the Depression in the 30s, 1930s and 1940s, and the kind of storing and putting up that our grandparents and great-grandparents did. And that comes directly from the history of the old medieval stuff because, I mean, you had to, didn't you? And you didn't have a fridge. You didn't have the modern conveniences of a grocery store down the road. So, I mean, when you think about it, I think it was, I haven't got the numbers on hand, but I think it was like 1940 was the earliest grocery store. Before that, there were, butchers and vegetable sellers and stuff, but you had to go to a bunch of different stores. It's only in recent history that we've had, Shaw's and Market Basket and Kruger's and whatever else. So the idea of putting up food comes to us from those ancestors and brings us forward, which is cool. And then that takes us into um, the Cold War era, where they had bunkers and the first preppers came to be. And these were people who were worried about nuclear war. And I mean, we can look at it now and go, well, yeah, it doesn't all work the way they said it did. And they were kind of paranoid. But they were working with the information that they had. And the fact that it wasn't as good as the information we have today is not something we should scoff at. We should learn from it, because I'm pretty sure that 50 or 100 years from now, people will be scoffing at our lack of information about coronavirus and why in heaven's name would they have run out of toilet paper? That was just dumb. Um, they're going to be mocking us in the same way. So I'm being kind to my ancestors, and hopefully they'll be kind to me in return. Um, but putting up is really important. So, if you have a power outage, what do you do? Our house doesn't really change. We had a power outage a couple of weeks ago it turned out to just be for a few minutes, but it wouldn't have mattered. And then we had brownouts during the storm yesterday. But again, no big deal. We pull out the oil lamps and a couple of hurricane lamps. And if we need to, we have the light. And if we don't need it, great. We have a generator for in the summertime to keep our freezers cold. You don't have to run a freezer constantly. As long as you keep it closed, you can bring the generator over and run it for an hour a day, and you can pretty much keep what's in there frozen indefinitely. And I can, and dehydrate and preserve in salt and in other ways. So these are all things that our ancestors did out of absolute necessity, and which we're doing as a hobby these days, but also in preparation. I mean, really, I think about the people who were stuck in New York City during the height of the coronavirus back in March. Those people couldn't go out. They were stuck in little tiny apartments with very little access to food and water and all the rest. What do you do? Well, you prepare, and that's what I'm doing. The fact that I happen to like to prepare kind of like a medieval person would is just because that's where my interests lie. But, you know, my family tends to do stuff sort of like the pioneers. We use canning technology. We use, I have a good canner that does not require me to have electricity to use. I can do it over a fire. I can do it on the top of the gas stove. Our gas stove continues to work even if the power is out. You know, there's nothing, the only thing I can't do really is laundry. And even that, I could hook up the generator to it if I had to. I probably wouldn't bother though. I know how to wash clothes by hand. It's not fun, but I mean, it's not like we're going to have internet if the power goes down. So, anyway, all this stuff is stuff that, you know, it all builds one on top of the other. And it's fascinating to see how things have come forward. We look at some of the really bizarre recipes that are in like the Better Living cookbook from 1959. Oh, I have the little boxed set that's Good Housekeeping. They have like, olives and hot dogs in aspic. Like, really? Oh my God, why? But you think about it, they were using what they had. And that really is what today's preppers do. It's what they did during the Cold War. It's what they did during the Depression. You may do. And it's what our ancestors did back in the 1300s and earlier, too. All of this stuff is connected. So that's where I'm at today. And I think I'm starting to burn, so I'm going to go in the house now. I love you guys. I'll see you next week, if not earlier. Excuse me. And have a good one. Remember to drink the water, eat the food, and get some exercise and some sunshine. I love you guys. And don't forget, pass the video along, subscribe if you want. And don't forget to ask questions if you have any. Oh, and order my book, please.